Welcome to the Lorehounds. I'm your host, Elysia, visiting your ears today to talk about Beetlejuice, the original and the new one, with Brandon the Bard. Brandon, welcome back. How have you been?
Hello. Glad to be back. I've been wild. A little bit accursed, but everything so far, today is pretty good. Pretty good. How have you been? I don't think I've talked to you since the big Lorehounds meetup.
Yeah, it's definitely been a cursed year. We've had some cursed scheduling for this episode. So it was going to be, you were in from the get-go, as soon as I brought up the Beetlejuice one shot. And then John was going to join us. Ron was going to join us at one point. It just was a big mess with scheduling. And here it is, back to the original two in the end.
Not to mention, we could have done this a couple times before, but my house kept falling apart in various different ways. So it has been buck wild around these parts, but we're here today.
And I actually could not get to see, I tried several times to get to the movie and things came up so I actually saw the movie this morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's really
wait, was it the first time this morning that you saw it, or wow, so you're fresh.
I'm fresh. So it's just been all around forces conspiring to keep us from making this episode, but here we are. We shall defeat those forces.
We shall.
So the way we're going to do it today is we're going to start at first by just talking background on the original Beetlejuice film, the franchise in general, our experiences with it, why we were so excited to talk about this new film, and just a little production intel. And then we'll take a quick break, and after that we'll be back and we'll do our full spoiler dive into the second. So let's start with you, Brandon. You piped up when I brought up this one shot months ago. What about this franchise made you think that's something I want to cover?
Oh, yeah. Well, I am a bit of a weirdo in that I like the visuals, the vibes, and the themes of horror, but I don't like to be scared.
Okay.
So whenever you put all those trappings in a comedy, then you're pitching right at me. And Beetlejuice has just always been that for me. It came out 2 years before I was born, so there has been a Beetlejuice before there was a Brandon the Bard.
Wow.
So my parents kind of fit that as well. They're both a little spooky, especially my mom. So things like Beetlejuice, Rocky Horror Picture Show, like things that are dressed like horrors that are more fun, with some genuine scares in there as well. That's usually my favorite kind of thing. So, and probably at least once a year I watch Beetlejuice, especially around the spooky season.
Yeah.
What about you?
The spooky comedy is basically my entire personality, and I'm just going to throw out there for the first time of what are sure to be more this episode, watch Agatha All Along. The first 2 episodes are out. If you haven't seen it, it is really hitting the nail on the head in that subgenre of spooky silly.
Excellent.
Yeah. So Beetlejuice, I don't know, is kind of like the OG for me. I am a few years older than the film. My sister's 1 year younger, but yeah, it's something I definitely was not old enough to watch it when it came out. I don't think I saw it in the theater or anything. It's just something that was always there, repeat watchings on Halloween, obviously. I loved Lydia. You know what I think it is? I think it's actually even the cartoon that got me in the door first.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I used to be insecure about my name when I was little because nobody could spell or pronounce it. And so I kept requesting other names. My biggest one was Storm, but Lydia was also on the list. I wanted to change my name to Lydia, and it was definitely because of this.
Lydia's a good name. Storm is an excellent name. It's a shame they didn't let you go with it.
I know.
I think Elysia suits you. That's fine.
So did you watch the animated series?
It's showtime!
I did watch the animated series. It is one of those things that it's far back enough in my memory that I remember doing it, but I remember almost nothing about it. I definitely get some character silhouettes in my head that didn't quite make it to the movies, or if they were in the background.
Hmm.
But I sort of liked I believe it was like a almost like a buddy cop, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. I kind of misremembered the relationship between Lydia and Beetlejuice in the original film because it is different in the animated series. So, okay, just a quick plot synopsis of the original film for anyone who needs a refresher. It is about a deceased couple who is stuck haunting their own house, and they try to scare the new inhabitants who want to redesign everything. They call for help from a devious bioexorcist named Beetlejuice, a demon slash ghost from the other side, the Netherlands. And yeah, he's summoned by saying his name Beetlejuice 3 times. So one of the inhabitants is a young girl, Lydia, as I said, played by Winona Ryder, who is dealing with her neglectful father and her new stepmother. And Beetlejuice tries to force her to marry him. And his antics within both the house and the afterlife, there's antics all over the place until they're finally able to send Beetlejuice back to where he came from, leaving the ghost and human inhabitants to live happily ever after. And I've now said his name way more than 3 times.
Yeah, I was gonna pipe up after the second time you said it in that synopsis, but I was just like, yeah, if he's gonna come, he's gonna come. It's fine.
What are you gonna do? So, what were some of your favorite moments from the original film?
Oh man, a lot of the physical comedy is very much remembered for me. Like of course the Deo dance,
Mm-hmm.
Mighty Deadly Black Tarantula when Charles, or I think that's his name. Is that the father's name? Just his physical comedy there, just everyone being super uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, very fun, except for I like the moments where they get into it, like Otho with the drum, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember Otho's girlfriend's name, but her and her whole goth charm.
Yeah.
Um, God, what the social worker with her smoking neck hole.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's just so
She
much
won.
good.
She won a Saturn Award for that, I think.
She did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that she deserved it because she was such a good vibe. And honestly, that like from the original, the vibe of the thing,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say is like a strong suit for me. And just the bureaucracy of, take a number, sit down. Like all
Right.
that was very fun. And just the visuals, the practical effects that are done expertly in the original was good. And not to get into spoilers, but the practical effects in the new one are pretty great too. If I'm going to go ahead and knock that out. But yeah, what about you? What are some of your favorite moments from the original?
I mean, yeah, the bureaucracy definitely. I love this like handbook for the recently deceased. Like,
Yeah, I
did
love
they
how the
ever?
Maitlands, they're so
Yeah.
frustrated the whole time about how it reads like a phone book or whatever. Like they
Did
really just did not like that book.
well, they was just like I know so many people because I was always a school nerd, I was like, "Ooh, textbooks are fun." But I know lots of people who are like, "Ugh, I don't want to have to read all this stuff." And I get it. I understand. And that's what this it was like textbook for how to be dead. And why does that exist as a merch option? Because if it does not, it absolutely should.
It should at least be a book cover. Like that would be an if people are still using book covers, then yeah, slap it on like your history book or something. That would be very fun.
Yeah, well
Or a
that
journal,
that you
of
could
course.
produce yourself, yeah.
That's true. I could throw that on Etsy and make $1 million.
1 million. Yeah. So speaking of evil things, I thought that the dog was evil. Every time that I watch this, because I don't watch it that often, to be honest, and then I forget, like, because the dog seems to it causes their accident at the
Yes.
beginning, and then the dog is just like standing there balancing on this beam, and then gets off the beam, and that's how Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin die in
Right. Yeah, the Maitlands lock eyes with this dog who is balanced, like
Right.
the whole weight of the car is just hovering on this little plank of wood, and the dog seems to pointedly hop off and kill the Maitlands.
Yes, exactly. So I'm always waiting for the dog to come. I thought maybe they would make a reference to it in the new movie. Sorry, spoiler, they do not mention the dog. But
Right.
there is a speed sign on that bridge now.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't. I actually watched the original this morning just to
Okay.
to bring myself back up to speed. And I did notice, like, I guess we should save it for getting into the other one, but they do a lot to like put you in the same town, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
background visual references to the original. Um, yeah, I didn't even see. Did they have like a good patch job in the new one of where the car goes through the
There was
wall?
a patch. Yeah, there was a patch.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. I think the dog, I think the Lorehounds take on this will be that the dog it definitely is evil.
Yes. Okay.
Uh,
It's official.
for,
It's canon.
for sure, though, the dog is definitely dead by the second movie if it is a
True.
corporeal being, because that dog is not going to make it 30 more years.
But they brought back like the daughter of the real estate agent, so they could have brought back the puppy of the dog or something.
They did. They gave her like a two title. I think they said.
Yeah, junior or whatever.
Was it the same actor, the child
No.
actor?
Oh, the child. Oh, who played the child? Not that I know of, but that would be cool if it
It
were.
would be cool if they brought her back as the adult version. If that child actor stayed an actor,
Yeah.
that would be a cool callback.
And of course, one of the other like most iconic things from the original is the striped sandworms on the moon of Saturn, the sandy desert moon of Saturn, which I was a Dune kid also growing up, or even more so. So yeah, this is definitely a Dune ripoff moment, but in this like cool, kitschy stop motion animation way.
Yeah, it definitely seems pointedly Dune. Also, do we know which moon of Saturn? Do they ever say? Because there's a
No,
couple moons of Saturn.
right. I mean, yeah, and I don't know them well enough to know which one would, if there would be one that's sandy. Are any of
Yeah,
them? Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Maybe humanity doesn't know them well enough to know that.
I don't know. I should know because I'm a big Destiny, the video game player, and there's a
Mhm.
couple of things that go on around Saturn, and I should know, but I don't because my brain's not the kind of trap that holds those details. But yeah, very fun. I do like the imagery of the sandworms and stuff. The the stop motion, like the way the stop motion works, I think is so fun, and the way that they kind of mirror it, because obviously now they don't have to use stop motion in the new movies,
Right.
but the way that they still do it, and you can kind of see like it cut in with the frame rate being different than the rest of the
Mhm.
movie. It looks all choppy and stuff, but
Mhm.
it was so delightful to
That's
see.
a feature,
Even
not a bug. Yeah.
exactly. Even like looking back at the old one, for some reason those stop motion practical effects hold up so well for me. Like as far back as like, is it called Jason and the Argonauts, where it's
Right. Yep.
the
The Ray
skeletons that run around?
Harryhausen. Mhm.
Yeah, like that still just looks so cool to me. And obviously it's good that we've been able to progress, and like Jurassic Park was originally done. It was going to be done with stop motion, and that's when they sort of made the big jump to CGI for a lot of things,
I'm
which
glad for that they yeah. The
yeah, and
CGI
that's
was good.
it was good, and it still looks good to this day. But like, I think that's kind of why they gave Phil Tippett, the stop motion man who pretty much was responsible for all like the Star Wars model work and
Mm.
all that. They gave him, I don't know why I'm getting into Jurassic Park details, but
No, no.
they gave him the dinosaur handler title because his whole job ended up being not stop motion anymore, because they switched the special effects out on him, like in production. So
Did he have to learn via like CGI?
I think so, but I think that he was there for the process, like as more of a figurehead than like
Okay.
hands on, because it's not
Gotcha,
his
gotcha.
forte, but he's still
Right.
like very good
The
at knowing what
director.
a thing
Mhm.
should look like. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I assume there was some handshaking. Like this looks good enough. We can go with this. I give it my my praise as a man who makes things look good, for
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking of the moon of Saturn, the stars, the name Beetlejuice, the Michael Keaton character, it's actually spelled the character's real name is Betelgeuse, which is the name of one of the brightest stars in the sky. Some say it's the eighth brightest, some say 10th brightest. It's a red supergiant, and it is part of the constellation Orion. And it comes from, basically, the name comes from a mispronunciation of an Arabic word, meaning the hand of Al Jawza, which is their name for Orion. And yeah, there was a cool story I saw in African mythology about this star that I just had to share. Not that this is definitely a sidetrack, but so the star in African mythology, and I'm not sure exactly where. I'm sorry, I don't think it's all the same. But um, in one version of the mythology, the star represents a lion that is keeping its eyes on three zebras, which is what we call Orion's belt in English. And David, a deity, failed to kill the lion with his arrow, but didn't try to take it back because the lion was watching. Beetlejuice was watching the zebras. So the deity sits there to this day, shivering due to the cold nights and suffering, which is very lovely. It kind of
That is nice.
has the vibes. I don't know if any of this is why they took the name for that character.
I bet it's just because it sounds spooky.
Mm.
Beetlejuice. It's like a good yucky sound. But I love all this. This is some very Lorehounds shit, if you don't mind me saying, to get into these specifics, because that is very fascinating.
Mhm.
And it might be more thought than they actually gave to the name. I bet they just saw the name and were like, Beetlejuice. That's fun to say.
Say it three times. Ooh,
Ooh,
plot.
that's got a good ring to it.
Um, so it was a plot point in the first one that people, when they saw it written down, they didn't know how to pronounce it. And there are like different pronunciations in English. But in the new film, everyone just knew right away. Like you could, I mean, I guess it's not a surprise that Astrid is like Smarty Pants, immediately could recognize that name.
Of course. Yeah, it's very fun. Alex Baldwin, what is his name? Adam in the
Hmm.
original. He mispronounced several things
Right.
over the course of it, and Gina Davis's Barbara had to correct him for instance, handbook for the recently diseased,
Oh, yeah.
and there's a B, and she says it's deceased. He says, yes, handbook for the recently deceased. So like it's sort of a thing, like it's funny because he sort of takes like lead in like reading the handbook,
Hmm.
but he got that wrong right up top. So I don't know, it's just such a funny beat. There's a
Yeah.
moment, like there's a big red, like this, here we go, sidetrack, Futurama, that cartoon, there's a bit in there where it just shows a red button and Fry goes to push the button and like the camera goes in all dramatically and he just misses the button and goes ouch, and then he has to recorrect and touch the button. It was a very much that moment,
Hmm.
whereas very fun, just excellent comedy timing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, yeah, that is the key to this. And I think it's down to both films have incredible casts who just know timing inside and out.
Yes, like I've got some qualms, but
I have
casting,
qualms.
I don't
Yeah.
think is one of them at all. I think, and everyone seems to really go for it in the
Mhm.
old one and in the new one.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit more subtlety in the original, which is fun to say,
Yeah.
because you wouldn't call it subtle, but compared, like juxtaposed to the new one, I think it's treated with a little bit more. Hmm, I guess I'll use the word subtlety twice in this instance,
Mhm.
but we can get into that when we
Right.
when we get there.
Right. Well, also there's different writers. So, by the way, did you know that the Tim Burton originally wanted to cast Sammy Davis Jr. as Beetlejuice?
I don't know much about Sammy Davis Jr. except for kind of where he hung out and
The
a
Rat
little bit
Pack
about who
thing.
he was. But
Mhm.
yeah, with the Rat Pack. But I think that would be probably pretty rad. Like,
Yeah. It would be
what?
different, and I think the character would have been characterized completely different, but yeah,
Absolutely.
I would love to be in the alternate reality and that has that version to watch.
Did he not get cast because he wasn't alive anymore, or how did that work? I don't know when
Um,
he died.
yeah, I know. I think it was after maybe he said no or something.
Okay,
So
fair
it's too
enough.
weird.
It's a weird job, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Good thing they got one of the best weirdos in the world to be Beetlejuice.
Yeah. No, I mean, it worked out, but yeah, it would have been an interesting version otherwise.
Yeah.
But we did get it was a 1988 release directed by Tim Burton. And the writers for the first one there was a story by Michael McDowell and Larry Wilson, and the screenplay was by McDowell and Warren Scarron. Um, so these are different writers than the second one, and that's going to come up.
Yeah.
And so the budget of the first one was 15 million, and they just spent 1 million of that on VFX. And then it went on to make 75 million at the box office. So it was a huge uphill battle to get it made because, again, it's weird. But then it was a smash success, like critically and financially. So, yeah, they've been trying to remake it for a long time. It won. Yeah, it got on Rotten Tomatoes. It has an 83% positive score from critics, 82% from audiences. On Metacritic, it's 71 from critics, 7.8 from audiences, and it won the Academy Award for Best Makeup, well deserved, and 3 Saturn Awards for Best Horror Film, Best Makeup, and Best Supporting Actress for Sylvia Sidney, who played Juno, the social worker.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, deserved. Yeah, and she was also like she's been before that, she was acting since the 1930s. So
That's
this is probably
incredible.
also a career Oscar.
Yeah, probably also both of us growing up, we've seen her in like a million movies. Like she's
Yeah,
just an excellent character actress. Obviously for us, she was an old lady in a lot of things,
right.
but like she just had such power in Beetlejuice because she was just so over everyone's shit. it was one.
Yeah.
It was one. Her with the football team is so funny. Like them asking her where the bathroom is. She's like, "Well, the bathroom. Can you read the sign?" Anyway, go on.
She was so relatable. No, she's so relatable. Is there anything you want to shout out about the original movie before we talk about the rest?
Oof. Just how much I like everyone. Like the entire cast of the original was so good. Otho is
Mm-hmm.
such a high point because I think he does the best, and he's obviously the
Like
artsy
the
fartsy friend of Delia.
interior
Like
designer, right?
he's an interior designer slash paranormal expert,
Right, of course.
and he does the perfect line towing of being extremely hateable
Mm.
in a fun way where you
Yeah,
never like it's always fun to see him be a jackass. And I
yeah.
think it is very hard to do. I think no matter how much I like you as an actor, maybe you can't quite hit that mark if that's what you're going for. But this man
Mm-hmm.
really crushes it. God, no, we'll make a lot of comparisons as we get into the second one. But I just to harp on it, I really just love the first one. It
Yeah.
is a unabashed classic, and sort of maybe the thing I wanted to say here is today we ask the ultimate 80s movie sequel question. Does this beloved movie need a sequel? And in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, it does not. But it sure is a lot of fun to get one.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to sum it up. So yeah, we talked about we were both into the animated series, which ran 1989 to 1991. Did you play any of the video games, or I mean, I didn't get a chance to see the musical. Not many people did, but
I did not. I just must have missed those games. I didn't even know they existed. And I
yeah,
would have absolutely loved a Beetlejuice musical, but no, I
yeah,
didn't. I didn't catch it.
yeah. It's a shame that it. I mean, I don't know why. Yeah, it didn't last longer. I mean, yeah, but so then, yeah, there were so many attempts to make a film sequel to the original. The first one was going to be with the original cast again in like 91 or something, set in Hawaii. And honestly, I would have been there for that.
Yeah, that sounds like it would have been a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah.
I would like to see Beach Barbie Lydia would be very fun to see.
Oh,
Like
she
how
would hate
she'd
the
goth it
sun.
up in
Yeah.
Hawaii. She would.
But so what we did get this year is they brought back just like all the pieces finally came into place, and they could get Tim Burton to direct again. But it is new writers this time. So the writers were Alfred Gow and Miles Millar, who are known for things like Smallville, the Shannara Chronicles, and Wednesday. And I have to ask, because there's a lot of overlap with Wednesday. Did you watch Wednesday on Netflix, the TV show?
Okay. I you remember how I said I like horror coded comedies?
Mhm.
I do not like the Addams Family. I can't with it.
What?
I don't
Why?
know why. It's always been like annoying to me. It probably because I was haunted by the Addams Family rap as a child. It's
The
just the most
creepy and the
awful.
kooky, that's
It's
mysterious and spooky.
right.
I loved them.
Yeah, I never want to yuck anyone's yum. If you
No,
loved
no,
it,
no,
I'm
I
happy
understand. Mhm.
for sure. But and I've seen them. I did not want to watch Wednesday. My wife watched Wednesday, so I caught some strays on there. I've of
Okay.
course seen some of the viral dancing
Mhm.
and whatnot. I did watch Smallville, but no, I did
Okay.
not catch Wednesday, and I don't think anyone watched the Chronicles.
I watched the Shannara Chronicles, okay?
Okay,
But here's
okay.
the thing. So I have not yet actually watched Smallville, but it is on. I'm doing this like thing where I'm catching up on old DC shows that I haven't watched. So I'm in the middle of watching The Flash from the 90s, and then
Oh.
and then I'm going to rewatch the 90s Batman movies, and then Smallville's next on my list for that
Heck yeah,
project.
that should be fun for you. I
Yeah.
I will say, looking back upon Smallville with no like real, you know, I'm not digging too hard. I feel like I remember everyone really tried. As far as the acting department, the
Mhm.
writers didn't try extra hard, but they didn't
Mhm.
have any money to make the show, and
Right.
they kept Superman grounded. But I liked everyone. I think
Yeah.
everyone did their best.
So I feel similarly about the Shannara Chronicles. I
Okay.
think it was a very likable cast, and I've since seen them in other things. And I didn't hate the show. I enjoyed the show. I wasn't sad when it got canceled because, especially the second season, the writing was just like okay.
Ugh.
Um, and I was a huge Adams Family fan, as I've just demonstrated, both the animated series and the movies, and I really liked them. Um, Wednesday, I enjoyed, like I do like this movie better than Wednesday,
Okay.
um, but I have the same problems with both.
Okay, that makes sense. I will say visually, I enjoyed what I saw from Wednesday. I like that they paired her with a sunshine girl. I thought that's always a thing that I like, is the
Yeah,
happy go lucky with the goth girl. That made me happy. But aside from that, I can't add anything else to the conversation. So we shall move along, I suppose.
yeah. Okay, so the second film, it cost about 100 million to make, and so far we're recording on September 19th. Oh, it's after midnight for me. September 20th. As of this date, it's made about 195 million in the U.S., 76 million internationally, so 272 million in total. But it's interesting that it did a lot better in the U.S. than abroad.
That is interesting, and good for them. They did it.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
mean,
yeah,
my theater was pretty empty, but I went on a what was it, a Wednesday morning, so
right.
it's not exactly
Only
yeah.
I only catch matinees at this point. If I might go to the theater 3 times a year at the most, but
Mhm.
yeah, I'm always sitting next to grandpa's, and I'm only there, in the morning time. But
Yeah.
and it's always empty wherever I'm at. So, but yeah, you know, uh, the audience that was there seemed to be reacting fairly positively
Yeah.
to it.
Mhm. There was laughs, there was even a moment of, "Oh."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so for this one, the reviews are still quite positive. So Rotten Tomatoes, it's 77% from the critics that are positive, 81% from the audience. And then on Metacritic, it's 62% from the critics, and the audiences gave it a 6.5 average. So that's still, leaning very positive. Um, Now, are you familiar with the Pukila scale?
I actually am not. I get some context clues of what
Yeah.
this could mean, but go ahead and tell me.
So our favorite Tolkien scholar, Marilyn R. Pekila, she's not she doesn't enjoy violence. So we have come up with a scale to sort of indicate whether a movie would be something that she could watch. And in this also is useful for other people because it turns out she's obviously not the only one who doesn't enjoy watching that much violence. So, yeah, if Zero is like, I think they said season 1 of Rings of Power, and then Clockwork Orange is +5 was Marilyn's specification. Where do you think
Okay.
this falls on the Pekila scale?
Ooh, okay. So the scale tops out there at 5.
Well, I mean, I think that there's stuff that's more violent than 5 for sure, but I don't think this movie will be about that.
No. This one maybe to me, I don't know, because there's some of the. I feel like the original has some pretty visceral gore, especially with
Mhm.
some of the freshly dead bodies sitting around, and you can see the instance of their death. Uh, is gore? Would you can? All right, so
Yeah.
violence specifically.
No, well, I don't know because it's also like psychological terror and I guess maybe gore. Like I'm thinking about specifically it's a moment from the trailers so we can say it in this first part where he the spill your guts moment and then he literally
Yes,
dumps out his intestines.
absolutely.
That's for
Um,
me the goriest moment, I think.
yeah, we'll go with we'll take it to a 5
Well, yeah,
because
maybe
there's some
cuz now
stuff in
I'm
there.
thinking also about cuz all of like the afterlife people you see their injuries.
Yeah, and even in the original, like there's the guy who's like, "You want a cigarette?" And his
Yeah.
whole body is burnt. There's the guy who's been flattened by a tractor or something, and they've got him on a clothesline. There's the people that are hanging. Oh
Yeah.
man, the Maitlands try and show themselves murdering each other several
Right.
times. So like,
I always think about
and
them contorting their faces into these, like, horrific masks.
yeah, and that's
Uh,
some real body horror stuff with the. So
yeah.
I'm
The
miming like you
beak
guys
and
can see a
the
podcast.
eyes and the
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I'd put it up to a 5. Why not?
Yeah, no, this is a good point, and this is also why I should never be the one to set the scale because I'm like, I just mine is completely skewed. I don't register.
Right, same.
Yeah.
I laugh. If I see gore, typically I laugh. So it's hard for me to set the scale there. But we'll top it off at a 5. I will say there's no like physical like violence that I can think of
Mhm.
that's above like
No.
cartoon. This is cartoon
It's
violence.
very cartoon violence for sure. And it mostly you see like the aftermath of violence and it's clearly like practical makeup, which is part of the charm, but it's not
Yeah.
super realistic most of the time.
No, there's
Yeah.
we'll tell you about it.
Okay, so we're about to get into spoilers, but before we do, for anyone who wants to know about before that, what would be your spoiler-free hot take on the new film Beetlejuice Beetlejuice?
You like Beetlejuice?
Mhm.
Watch Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. You
Mhm.
didn't like Beetlejuice? What are you doing here?
Right.
Um if you are going to be particular about everything that made the first one your favorite movie, maybe you might not like Beetlejuice, but what's an hour and a half of your time? You
Mhm.
never have to see it again, and it's not gonna ruin the original film. Um, if you want to have fun, watch the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a fun film. I'm definitely gonna watch it again. It doesn't have the same mad genius of the original, which I think is, like, nearly perfect.
Excellent way to put that. Yes.
Yeah, and I think just basically the biggest problem with this, there's a lot going on, and it's not all neatly pulled together. You know, the pieces are still a little too jagged and, kinda squashed together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, lots of like rehashing member berries. So it's like, oh, remember the shrunken head man? Well, now there's a whole office full of them.
Yeah.
Um, I think that the world building isn't as neatly done, in terms of that moon of Saturn. They're a little sloppier about how they use it. Like there were rules in the first one that are just kind of don't get as much attention in this one.
No.
And I thought personally, I found the biggest twist telegraphed ahead of time, but I know other people were surprised by them, so that could very much be a me thing. But I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the biggest problem is that I watched it this morning right after I watched the first two episodes of Agatha All Along, and Agatha All Along just nailed it so perfectly. And then I was like, well,
Ah.
and I kept thinking about Agatha while watching it. But I really enjoyed it, and I think, yeah, I agree, like, if you like the start with the original, and if you like that, Watch
Yeah,
this one.
what do you do with? Yeah, don't watch Beetlejuice before you watch Beetlejuice. Watch the first one. What are you
Yeah.
doing? You crazy? Don't do that.
But if you like it, yeah, why not? It's not a long film. It's a fun film. It does add something. I like that we get to see Lydia grown up and having a family of her own.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's as much as we can say without getting into the spoilers. So we're going to break open the spoiler seal right after a quick break. Okay, now this is the part where we try to summarize the plot of the movie briefly together. So I'll let you start, Brandon. How would you describe the plot of this movie?
Oh my god. Well, first, first, let me get into before we like. How did we not mention the music in the original
Oh, of
segment of
course.
this? God, we played you some, but man, does the music put you right where you need to be in both films? But like right at the top, as soon as you see the Geffen logo in the new one, I was bouncing to some bouncy Danny Elfman, and it was wonderful. Sorry, I'm Brandon the
Yeah,
Bard, and I
no, I
didn't
was really
mention the
glad.
music.
I was really glad that Danny Elfman came back to score the second one too, because that
I
was
bet
actually the music clip that was just played. That is from the second film, but it is like obviously it's nodding its head, and that's exactly where you should nod back to the original when you have an epic theme song.
for sure. Yeah, and I think the movie starts perfectly with the swooping shot over the model city,
Right,
the model of the town. So I think
right.
that is
Callback.
excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, oh my gosh, are you trying to get me to do a plot synopsis right now? Was that
Yeah,
your
I mean,
question?
just what comes to mind. What are
Okay.
we'll fill in the blanks after we just do a little summary.
Sure. Keep in mind we've both seen this one time. So if you went and saw the movie 5 times and you're like, all right, there's these folks are getting this wrong every time. Keep in mind
I
we've
saw
only
it
seen
this
it the once.
morning, so I have it fresh.
I saw it maybe 3 days ago.
Okay.
So I'm still pretty fresh. Okay, so the plot is Lydia's dad died in a funny way. Everyone has
You
to go
get
back.
shark chomped after, but there's a
Yeah,
whole long story. You got to listen to
for
more.
sure.
I called her Moira. You got to listen to. Sorry, Catherine O'Hara's story. Delia.
Yes. So everyone has to go back to the original town from the original movie. Lydia's got a Daria like daughter who
Mm-hmm.
doesn't give a shit about anything. She meets she's resentful of her weird family. She meets a boy. Beetlejuice gets in there somewhere. Beetlejuice has a
He's
girlfriend.
longing for Lydia for all these years.
All these years, never. He's got a picture of her on his desk. 30. What's 30 years to someone who's been dead for that long?
Mm.
Um, Chaos ensues all throughout like the entirety of like the second and third act, and then it resolves in a dream sequence. Did I get it about right?
Yeah, basically. Well, I mean, yeah, we're going to get into talk about each of the important characters and some other key moments. But yeah, first I thought that we would we would switch things up and start with the feedback. So we have a little feedback. I thought this could help us frame the rest of our discussion. First, from John, who our John, the Lorehound, who
Who?
was supposed
Oh,
to
John.
again, right? Who?
That John. Okay, cool. Hi, John.
Who was supposed to be recording with us again, but okay. So he says, "Hello, my fellow lorehounds. John here, recovering from a lovely illness that's keeping me in bed most of the day. I saw Beetlejuice with my wife Maya a couple weeks ago and wanted to write in with my thoughts. First of all, it feels like a big hit. My theater was packed, had cosplayers, and had a lot of laughter from the audience. Really good to see people at the movies again. Overall, I loved the movie. They did a really great job capturing the vibe from the original movie while keeping it fresh. Jenna Ortega's plotline was a highlight, and while it was pretty clear her ghost boyfriend was dead from the minute his parents didn't show their faces, agreed. It went in a more interesting direction than I thought it would, with Beetlejuice becoming an unlikely hero. A lot of good laughs, like Catherine O'Hara insisting her snakes are defanged just before she ends up dead and asking for her husband. Speaking of Charles, The movie masterfully navigates the tough position Burton was put in by the real-life horrific acts by Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah.
It felt like just the right amount of dunking on the actor without changing the character too much. And Elysia interjecting here, for anyone who doesn't know, Jeffrey Jones was convicted of some sex offense with a minor, basically child pornography sort of situation. And yeah, we'll move on for that. So that is why Jeffrey Jones was not in this. John continues, Michael Keaton still has it, though I wish they hadn't marketed him as having, quote unquote, more energy than in the first one because it skewed my expectations. Monica Bellucci's character was wholly unnecessary, but made for a fun side plot. The only Beetlejuice bit that didn't land for me was the wedding, because the song was a missed opportunity to use Gimme 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 by ABBA. For Bob's sake, the wedding is at midnight. Gimme a man after midnight. Dolores chasing Beetlejuice. Tisk tisk.
Fair criticism.
Mm-hmm. On to my substantive critique. Lydia's character arc. I had no problem with where she started. We can all get sucked into toxic relationships we don't recognize from the inside. And she was being emotionally manipulated by an awful man. But at some point, Delia asks her, where's that little goth girl who used to terrorize me? I was wondering the same thing, and I don't think we ever got the answer. Lydia never gets a chance to really confront Rory. He dies by coincidence from the sandworm. Lydia kind of confronts the juice, but in the end, she's as scared as she was at the beginning with him haunting her dreams. I don't think we ever really saw Lydia find herself again outside of the men who have ruled her through fear and abuse. I understand it's a short movie, but if we can have the Dolores plotline, then we can do Lydia justice. Speaking of, justice for Bob. John. So thoughts?
He pretty much nails it. I definitely we didn't share the same theater experience as John, so that's fair. I do agree that Jenna Ortega's plot line was, I think, for me, the most elegantly handled of the plot lines. Would it make me look stupid to say I did not realize her boyfriend was dead? I had no clue.
No, I mean, a lot of people apparently, yeah.
I knew
Didn't.
something was going on, but for some reason I didn't expect him to be dead. Maybe his parents, because like he points out, you don't see their faces,
Right.
and like it like just like camera wise, the camera should have shown the dad watching the TV from the front with his dead eyes or whatever as he's watching. Like that's how you normally film that. And you'd film the mom turning around to say her whatever to her kid. So they filmed it in a way like you can't see their faces right now because something's weird. So yeah, I should have seen it telegraphed, but I didn't. And so that was a nice surprise for me. I was like, oh, okay. And having him be like a total sociopath was great. And just the way he manipulated her. I enjoyed that. What about you? How did you take that? Are we going to sort of use John here as a framework, or did we want to get into more?
I mean, we'll move on from there, but we might as well talk about this point now. Yeah, I wasn't surprised by the twists, and I do think that they should have leaned into that storyline more. Like
absolutely.
Why not just like build that out more, because it went by so quickly. And yeah, no, I mean, maybe wouldn't want them to drag it out, because I knew at some point, like, oh, he's dead. And then I forget. I know it was definitely when I didn't see the faces. I was like, oh, they're all dead. I don't know when I realized that he was evil, but yeah, that part seemed rushed. Like suddenly he's evil and now he's gone, because
yeah, I mean, it feels like there were like 3 ideas for the movie and they said, fuck it, we're doing all of them. Like Beetlejuice and Dolores was like one of them. Astrid, was that her name?
Yeah. Astrid
and the boy and her boyfriend was another one. And then Lydia being manipulated by Justin Theroux. I can't remember his name either. One time, guys, give us a break.
Rory is Justin Theroux's. Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely love Justin Theroux, by the way. As an actor and a man, I don't think I am very much sold on Rory. Right. But he sold it as hard as he could, and I can't not be delighted by him. But yeah, I feel like they could have gone either one like dip some of these into further like subplot territory and really highlight one of these, but they went too much, and so the whole middle of the film for me just felt really like mishmashy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just felt like a ball of chaos in a way that wasn't super fun, I guess.
Yeah.
For trying to follow the plot anyway. Yeah, moving on.
Yeah, okay. I know Ron feels similarly. So Ron, also a co-host on this network, also was going to try to join this, but the curse of the Beetlejuice scheduling.
Hey, this is your boy Ron Dawson coming at you with my in-car quick voice memo review of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Now, off the bat, I want to say I really enjoyed this movie. It was a lot of fun. I don't think it holds up to the original. I thought the original was a lot more fun, a lot funnier than this one. But the main problem I have with this one is the main villain, Dolores, Beetlejuice's wife, serves no purpose to the story other than to give us a sort of quasi-origin story of how Beetlejuice died in the first place. Throughout the whole movie, she is sucking out the souls of ghosts, but at the end, it's kind of anticlimactic in terms of how she's defeated. She's defeated with sandworms, which, that's how Beetlejuice was defeated. So this could be their way of being able to reintroduce her in the next movie, because that's, like I say, that's how Beetlejuice was defeated at the end of the first one. But it didn't do anything. It didn't add any gravitas really to the story. It kind of added stakes, but like I said, it felt kind of anticlimactic. I would have much preferred if they completely chucked out that storyline and just focused on the boy that the daughter met. That was a really powerful theme about her not feeling connected to her parents, to meeting this boy. And the reveal, and I kind of knew something was going on when they walked into his house and they didn't show the faces of his parents. Yep. So I already knew something was up. But I felt like if they kind of milked it a little bit longer, and they had the reveal of him being the ghost later on in the story, let's say in the third act, and if that was the focus of the whole story, her relationship with this boy, it could have had a much more sort of Sixth Sense feel to it. I think it would have been a more emotionally packed story if the whole thing was focusing on that relationship than the sacrifice that the Winona Ryder character does at the end would have been a little bit more powerful, because you would have spent this whole time kind of seeing that. Not that it wasn't, but I kind of felt like it was thrown away, but you could have played into that more if the whole story was, the daughter building up this relationship with this ghost, and you find out that this ghost is a ghost, and then she makes this thing to give up her soul and marry Beetlejuice. Who knows, maybe it kind of ends like that and sets up a number 3, because we know if this does well, they're going to make a Beetlejuice, which will probably be the title of the third one. I think it's pretty clear that since this is Beetlejuice 2 and they don't say Beetlejuice twice, the third one will be Beetlejuice. I also wasn't crazy about the fact that they brought back Charles as a half-eaten victim of a shark. I mean, the actor who played him, I believe, is actually dead, and so I don't think they needed to do that. It was not believable that at the end that she would go off happy with her half-eaten husband with blood spurting out from the middle. I think it would have been nicer if, Charles had died and he had gone to the great beyond, and it ended with the Delia character, I believe that was the Catherine O'Hara character's name, of her, accepting her death and then moving on to the great beyond to go be reunited with Charles. That would have been a nice ending rather than what they did. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the movie. Again, I really enjoyed it. I'd watch it again if it was on, once it's on streaming. I wouldn't go out to the theater again. I just kind of felt like there was a missed opportunity to focus on a better story and have the next one be the story with Dolores. Maybe introduce her at the beginning of this one, tease her, and then have it come back or something. But have season 3. Have, the third version be about her, and then have that be more stakes. Have there be more stakes involved, and have it be more than just cutting back and forth to her sucking souls. Anyway, because we don't really know her story. Like, why is she so obsessed, other than the fact that she's mad that she got chopped up again? Anyway, those are my thoughts. Hope this helps. Keep up the great work. And I'm sorry I can't be there to record with you. Until next time, live long and prosper.
Oh. Thanks.
Yeah, so again, the Charles actor, he's not dead, just his career.
Yes, definitely. Thank God. I agree with most parts of Ron there. I definitely disagree about Charles. I think it is an excellent choice to have him just be a half bitten in half man, and his gurgly, like every time he talks to Delia, just the blood, when he talks to Delia and the blood sprays all over. It's so funny.
Well, that's what I started to think of when we were talking about the Bakila scale. I was like, oh, wait a minute. There is that.
That's the biggest one, because that is just so gory. Mm-hmm. That, and of course, the childbirth scene.
Right.
In any time the baby Beetlejuice shows up is really gross.
My inner child. We'll talk about the end in a bit, but yeah. Okay, I have questions. But yeah, I agree with Ron again that they should have invested in a more central storyline that would have made it feel more balanced. But I'm getting the sense that maybe I don't love these writers.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the choices, I think, the actors did well despite the choices the writers made, I think is a fun way to think about it. But I think I'm with you.
Yeah. And that's how I felt about Wednesday, to be honest. The TV show. But anyway, all right. So let's listen to also our last piece of feedback is another voicemail from Lisa, aka Red Zippy.
Hi, this is Red Zippy, or Lisa. Big movie fan here, and I thought I would chime in with my thoughts on Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. I think the movie should have been named Catherine, because it was all about Catherine O'Hara for me. Loved every moment that she was on screen. She is just fantastic as Delia, and I enjoyed that so much. And really what I liked best about the movie was when they really just focused on the stories of the three generations of women, of Delia, Lydia, and Astrid. I gave the movie only 6 out of 10 because I found any other storyline to be completely unnecessary and very distracting for me. I did not like any of the Corpse Bride storyline. It looked kind of cool when she was putting herself back together, but that was completely lost on me. I suppose it had to be there to motivate Beetlejuice to help Lydia later in the movie when she needs to find Astrid. But yeah, and even more detestable or annoying for me was any of the Willem Dafoe story. I completely don't understand why that was in there at all. Just take all of that out, please. And as much as I love Justin Theroux, didn't really need him either. I figured that, Astrid is upset with Lydia because Lydia can't see her dad. And if she really was in touch with seeing ghosts, why can't she see her dad? So again, I wish that the storyline was just, I loved the storyline where Astrid is seeing a ghost who's a killer, and gets that whole storyline was fantastic. That provided all the motivation I needed for any of the stories. So, 6 out of 10. There definitely were some great Beetlejuice moments, being back in the attic. But I thought it was maybe one too many karaoke takeovers for me. I did chuckle big time when Michael Keaton and Beetlejuice went into that whole French, this is the story of my
Italian,
life, to give us the background on Corpse Bride, even though, no. So I think there was just too much story, way too much packed in there. And it just really shined for me when I had Catherine O'Hara on screen. So of course I'm glad I saw it, and it was a good crowd, and a lot of folks who enjoyed the first time just really had a lot of laughs. So obviously everyone's enjoying it because it did so well at the box office. But that was it for me. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Catherine O'Hara was in full Moira from Schitt's Creek mode, and I loved it. Defoe was wasted. Again, another person who thinks they should have cut the Monica Bellucci storyline. What do you think?
Um, I think that the Monica Bellucci Dolores stuff, it didn't need to be in there. I don't think it really
Mm,
added anything. Her the soul sucking also could have been way more horrific. Whenever in the original movie, um, death for the dead was a horrifying thing that almost happened to the Maitlands.
right.
And that was real stakes for the movie. And I will
Mm,
say, just to say it, I don't think any character quite lives up to the Maitlands as like
no,
no, they're such an excellent
there's no Otho. There's no the Maitlands. Yeah.
no. And to get onto the Justin Thoreau of it all, I think he was they were shooting for Otho with him. And it's fun making him be a fraud, I suppose. Like
Mm,
it's a fun idea. I just don't think they they nailed it with that.
yeah.
Um, I agree that Delia was wonderful, but I do think, and I'm I'm trying so hard not to be super cynical about this because this
Mm-hmm.
is for me, it's like a pretty inherently cynical project in general, like sort of a cash grabby, like and it
Mm,
always is. It always feels that way a little bit for me, like a beloved one hit wonder 80s movie gets a sequel now, like
right.
why? But so Delia for me gets a little bit of the Jack Sparrow treatment where she was written to be absurd and Catherine O'Hara elevated the material in a way that was like wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But now you write Delia as Catherine O'Hara playing the person and it loses a little bit of the magic that lets the actor do the thing to make it weird on their own. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Because like all the if you've ever watched the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the
mm-hmm.
first one, Jack Sparrow's obviously a weirdo, but he's
Mm-hmm.
largely a weirdo because Johnny Depp did the thing to make him such a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
And in every subsequent movie, it's written to just be like millennial weird jokes
Right.
instead of like self-aware almost in a
Mm-hmm.
way that is sort of scene breaking.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, it's sort of the same thing for me with Catherine O'Hara, but I'm not going to be upset about it because she did it wonderfully. Like, her death was so funny with
Mm.
just the very Catherine O'Hara, like, like the noise she makes to die was wonderful.
Just
And I
very
love that she was
understated.
scammed. Yes,
Uh-huh.
exactly. Like, understated in the perfect way.
Right.
Uh, and like, because she was the way that she handled lines in the original movie was so funny. Like, if you don't let me do this to the house, I will go insane and I will take you with me. Like the manic energy she had into it. Also, something that has bugged me for at least 30 years, they made her sideburn thingies asymmetrical. On one side of her face in the dinner scene, she's got
Right.
one squiggly sideburn, and on
Uh-huh.
the other side, it's two of them. And that has bugged me for the entirety of my life. I don't know
But
why
they
they
did
did
that
that.
on purpose, right? Because
They did.
she's the
She's art
conceptual
lady.
artist. So she was a
I,
sculptor in the first one, and now she's doing like installations in this one.
her scream art was very fun when they heard her on the outside of the house. By the way, the whole house had a veil.
I was just thinking, what are the logistics to get that done? Like,
I loved it. Like that was
no,
I
it was
saw it as
totally
like
something she would do.
bravo, wonderful.
Yeah.
um yeah, thank you very much, Lisa, for the voicemail. Very good points all around, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And then it's a good segue into the characters. Keeping on Delia Dietz, played by Catherine O'Hara. So it opens with the death of her husband Charles, and so we get that she tells that story. That was my favorite Delia moment is when she tells the story about her husband's death, but she's also nobody's upset about like any death the entire movie.
No, which does take something. It kind of takes something away from it, like death having any gravity, but whenever there's such a vibrant afterlife, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, played for comedy. That is wonderful. He's
Yeah.
dead, and Lydia wasn't even like that upset.
Your
She's more
father
like
left
bummed.
me. Like, you're getting divorced? Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. It was just
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I do like the fact that they they're like, okay, we can't use this actor, like we could recast or whatever. I do think, yeah, they could have just done, I think it was Ron who said they could have just put them in him in the afterlife or something. But just the fact they did the shark bite, so there's like no face needed. Like, well, that face was bitten off.
Yeah, and they definitely used his likeness, which
Hmm.
I don't know how
In
they're
the stop
within their
motion.
rights. Yeah, they
Hmm.
used it in the stop motion. I think on the headstone, which by the way, it took me the second time I saw it, but it was a shark fin. The
Oh
headstone was
yeah.
shaped like a shark fin, which is very fun. Uh, every single bit of like Charles's treatment on this was wonderful, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently the character's death was inspired by a nightmare that Tim Burton had about his own death.
I read it. Yeah, it's his worst case scenario death is that he survives a plane crash and then gets eaten by a shark. It's
Yeah.
very fun. I agree. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds like it's terrifying, but you have to wonder if Tim Burton, if a lot of things are born out of his dreams.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at what he's made. That's definitely some nightmare fuel that he rolls with in a very fun way. I like it.
Mhm. I would still call, though, Lydia, played by Winona Ryder, the main character in the film. Do you agree?
Hmm. I think she is for part of it. Um, I think the movie could have definitely done with more of picking a main character for me.
Mm, mhm,
The original sort of the main characters were the Maitlands, and then it sort of transitioned to Lydia. And
mhm.
in this one, I think it sort of does the same thing, but it's Lydia, and then it transitions more to Astrid,
Right.
um, being sort of the main character.
Yeah.
So they kind of follow that trend, I think.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would broadly say Lydia, one of the, if not the main character.
Yeah, I mean, the movie kind of starts and ends with her in this case, yeah, and, her daughter's living under her shadow as she hears.
My mom grew up here, that old house on the hill.
Wait, the ghost house? Is your mom Lydia Dietz?
Unfortunately,
She's a legend.
So we find out that she's doing this Ghost House TV show, but she's only been doing it 15 years apparently. So what do you think got her to start doing this Ghost House TV show? Like, was it when did she and her husband separate? Was Astrid that young when they separated, or did this lead to them divorcing?
Um, if I'm going to speculate,
Mm-hmm.
I would say probably, that's a good question. I would say maybe that's how long ago, especially judging on how fresh her departed husband, uh, Astrid's father, looks, how young he looks. He probably died right around the time the show started, maybe. So maybe she just didn't have anything else like that. Maybe she just wanted to funnel all of her weirdness into this douchey thing, this
Apparently, it
crappy
got her
ghost
closer
bro
to
show.
more. It got her closer to Delia again.
Yeah, that's true.
Silver lining. Um, and yeah, we find out that her mother is alive, she says, but this is the first time that it's mentioned that her mother is alive. All we knew before is that Delia is her stepmom. So I wonder, like, are they lining that up for a future film?
They drop a couple weird things in there, and like for what they didn't do anything with the Maitlands at all.
Mm-mm.
They just sort of like they didn't even have to mention them, and it's weird that they did. But they
Well,
said that they had a back door, or they
found a
made it out.
loophole. Yeah.
Yeah, they found a loophole, and that's it. That's all they really mentioned of the Maitlands.
I
And I
would
don't know.
have,
Maybe I wanted a little more, but
yeah. I would have bothered me if they didn't mention them. I mean, I guess apparently, I know Gina Davis was speculating that that ghosts don't age, and obviously Alec
they did.
Baldwin and Gina Davis are humans, so they did.
Yes,
So they
good
don't look
point.
like they're 30 or whatever they were in the first movie anymore. But yeah, I think that as easily as you said that, they could have found some other reason why. Like, what if they found a way to get them back to life or something? I don't know. Like, you're wasting one of the best things about the first movie.
Probably for me, it's probably the best thing because they were such a cute couple and like they were so likable as characters.
Yeah.
They were definitely the heart of the movie, and this movie in this way it doesn't really have a heart. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole situation with Lydia, and so her dead husband's name is Richard, played by Santiago Cabrera. And she was, I don't know, there. So he's dead, but she's not bothered by it because she's like, I was done with him before that he ever died. Um, and so when they have this family reunion, like Astrid, it's meaningful to her, but Lydia is just kind of like, oh hey, I don't know, it just that whole thing with the dead husband felt weird. Like, why introduce this character if he's going to be so superficial in the story?
I mean, yeah, that's like 8 of the characters in this movie, unfortunately. But I mean, obviously, this character is way more important to Astrid than it was to Lydia, and I was kind of hoping that they'd go more like they might take, because they did a couple of like, we're going to take this moment seriously in the original movie, and
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hoping that Lydia couldn't see him because he was the only person that she ever loved like that, and like maybe there's a rule that you can't see your loved ones or something like that, like some kind of like real reason why that Lydia can't see this dead person. But it's really just because he's working a desk in the afterlife. That's why she hasn't seen him.
Yeah, and I have an aside. This is also in the original movie, but like somehow the dead animal or the animals nibbling on you follow you to your to the afterlife. Like I have the biggest problem with it. With there's a woman in the waiting room, afterlife waiting room in this one, who is being eaten by her cats, which is something that would happen after she died. So why are the cats with her in the afterlife still eating her? I'm sorry, I'm being nitpicky.
That's a very good question. There's also in the first movie, there's a shark that's
Hmm.
accompanying a surfer who is still
Exactly.
eating him in his death. I don't know. Maybe she killed the cats as she was being. Nah, you're right. You're right.
Because they
There's no
wouldn't.
reason the cats should be there. Because yeah,
Yeah.
cats eat you immediately after you die, which
Not
is a cold hard
immediately.
fact.
You lose the smell, and dogs will do it too. By the way.
I think dogs wait longer than
Hmm.
cats, and cats will
Well,
start eating your lips and your nose.
well, it's in yeah. It's when you lose the smell of you, and then they're like, "I'm hungry. I haven't been fed in days." But anyway,
Interesting.
yes, this is appropriate conversation for this film.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, so then we get instead of the Maitlands or Otho, we get Rory, who again I also love Justin Theroux, but
Beautiful man.
his
Wonderful.
his yeah, his douchiness though actually had me rooting for. I'm like, do I want Lydia and Beetlejuice to get married? Like, I definitely don't want her to marry that guy. This sounds better. Beetlejuice is a better stepdaddy to Astrid than Rory is.
For sure. And honestly, like I just hate a fraud. And he's so clearly a fraud from the beginning.
Hmm.
And I think this has been done to death, the sort of LA, like, fake person who is not into what they're into. It's all cynical.
Right.
And I think it's just, for me, it was like I didn't need that in this movie. Um, so yeah, like his whole thing was not very fun. If someone asked me to be in a Beetlejuice movie, I wouldn't care what I'd do in it. So that I'm sure that was the case for him.
Hmm.
Um, oh, and back to let me see, Lisa's voicemail. Because I don't think we're gonna need to get into him a lot, but I don't think Willem Dafoe was wasted at all. I
No?
think
Oh, I do,
no,
but okay.
I thought he was very fun. He's obviously sort of the stand-in for Juno.
Mhm.
Um, you need someone who works the main desk. Obviously, he's playing a detective instead of like
Right.
a caseworker.
Right.
And also they had
He's called Wolf Jackson, by the way.
yes, which I thought he was fun as a like a
Sure.
hard bitten detective. I like his
The
wound is
wound was
good.
cool.
Being an actor is another thing I don't really need anymore. Like I get it, like actors making fun of actors in movies is a thing. Um, but not only do they have Willem Dafoe in this movie, but they have poor man's Willem Dafoe also in the same movie with Bern Gorman,
Baron
who's playing
Gorman.
who's playing Father Damien. And
Mhm.
they had one moment in the movie, because I was waiting for them to make a joke about it, because they look so much alike.
Mhm.
And there's one scene where Bern Gorman is standing behind Willem Dafoe, and you can see him in the same shot. But I really wanted them to play it. I don't even know
Yeah.
how they do it, but like I was like, "Hey, it's Willem Dafoe." I didn't even know he was going to be in it, because I avoided trailers for the most part, so I don't know if he was in one. And then I was like, they've got poor man's Willem Dafoe also. I didn't know his name until I made my notes. because he was in Game of Thrones. And
yeah, well, he was. I know him most from Torchwood, a darker, more adult spin-off to Doctor Who, and that's
oh, okay.
what. So I always liked him from that, and now like it's like a point and recognize, when I see him. But he was some of my favorite comedy relief for the movie. I think the first time we got like a laugh that people shared in my very sparsely populated theater was when he was like, he says, but this was a Catherine O'Hara moment too, and he does that like whole thing, like I guess he's doing an Irish accent, and he's like, oh, and then you depart for the fields of Elysium, blah, 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 blah. And Delia looks at him and goes, what? And that was the first time my whole theater laughed together.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, he handled it with the appropriate amount of gravitas, I think.
Yeah.
Liked it.
So, but yeah, the new character that worked the best for me, and this is completely on the very perfect casting of it, is Jenna Ortega as Astrid Dietz. What
Yes.
did you think about this character?
Excellently done. I'm getting a bit of Jenna Ortega fatigue. She's just popping up in a lot of things, including I've been mainlining only pop music for the past couple of years. She's also most recently in the Sabrina Carpenter video for
Okay.
Taste, which was fun. But
I
and
did see
she's
that. Yeah.
yeah, and they're doing another fun horror twist. Death Becomes Her. They're sort of doing that in the video. But yeah, she's just kind of playing the same thing in every movie, and I think it works well here because it's like sort of tailor made for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this character, and like she's the closest thing to a heart I think that the movie has. And I was along with her for the ride here. I think they should have probably stuck with her more closely than what they did, and not have it be sort of a three-way lead character situation. But yeah, I liked her a lot. I wanted more from her specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, at one point during the interviews and stuff, Winona Ryder said that they just were waiting for her to be born and ready to make this film. That like basically her existence justified a sequel. And I'm like, you know what? She's not wrong.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So her character resents her mother, misses her father, does not believe in ghosts.
Ghosts aren't real. Only gullible people believe that kind of crap.
Which is ironic because turns out she also has the gift to see them. So you have to wonder if she saw, I mean, she's never before seen, like she eventually sees Jeremy, her demon boyfriend's parents. And like, so she's never seen ghosts like that who have weapons in them or, the signs of their death.
Yeah, you'd think she would. You'd think she would have. And like, I don't know where I got it in my head, but I thought you needed to have read to see other ghosts. I thought you would have needed to have read the book, the handbook for the recently deceased. I'm sure I'm wrong. I know Otho picked it up in the original, and I think the only reason that Lydia could see the ghosts is because ghosts ignored the strange and unusual, but I am in fact strange and unusual, or whatever she says.
Right.
So that was all it took for her. And Astrid was like very much against that. She didn't want anything to do with it. So maybe it was just her own will keeping her away from the ghosts. But yeah. And she did see them after reading the book, I think, right? Because she picked it up in
but she saw him before.
She got a head injury. She got a head injury when she ran into. There we go. She was blurring the lines between the after and the now.
I did wonder at one point if she was going to like be dead, with them.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have any qualms with killing beloved characters in this movie for fun. So yeah, like why not?
Yeah. I mean, if she had figured out the ghost thing, she could have avoided sharing her mom's fate of being into douchey boyfriends.
For sure.
But speaking of douchey boyfriends of her mom, what did you think of Michael Keaton back as Beetlejuice? You said, John was saying that he expected a higher energy performance. I didn't hear about that in the promotion, but how do you think his performance this time, the characterization, everything compared to the original?
I have only one complaint about Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice here. And
Okay.
he didn't quite have the lung capacity to really get into the sort of metal way that Beetlejuice talks a lot. And like he sort of he can get there sometimes, but
Uh-huh.
it kind of comes off a little mumbly because he just
Yeah.
doesn't have the boom that he used to have as a younger
Okay.
person. And that's a very me person, as like a me thought rather. I'm very vocal, like I want to hear it, his
Mm.
voice, but he didn't quite have it. But everything else, like he nailed it still. Like you can't un Michael Keaton, and
Mhm.
he really, I think, crushes it. His his comedy timing is still excellent. Some of it is done with camera cuts and the horror face that he gives, but like him going into like what was it that he said, like, I'm gonna make you so happy, like him
Yeah.
like sliding into that is just
Yeah.
so fun. He just kind of still nails it to me.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your
Well,
from 10,000 feet on Beetlejuice here?
so I didn't notice the vocal thing, but that's a good point. I did think like, oh well, the makeup does a good job of hiding the aging, so that this whole idea that ghosts aren't supposed to age. Although I did wonder, he ends the first movie with a shrunken head, so he reversed that somehow, but that's fine.
He's a
um,
magical ghost.
yeah. I mean, so I heard during the promo they were saying that like Beetlejuice is not supposed to mature. He's always going to be, this politically incorrect dickhead. That's his character. But I felt bad for him in this film because he did his part and he helped them. And he actually showed like kindness and affection and stuff. And then, he, his, Lydia doesn't keep up her end of the deal, which she shouldn't have
For
made
sure.
that deal, but
No, he was definitely less pervy. Like I'm
mhm.
always a little surprised, like how grabby and handsy and Bugs
Right.
Bunny he is in the first one. He was a
Mhm.
little bit less in this one. But all of his helping is obviously very self-serving, and maybe that's why it took a Dolores character to give Beetlejuice the fuel to be sort of a impromptu hero in this movie. Um, yeah, with what you were saying with the makeup in the original movie, they kind of had to dough out his center, and you can kind of see it. Like he's got like sort of like a tiny fat suit on in
Mhm.
the original, most prominently when he has like the Brad. I'm thinking Brad from it's not
Yeah,
Brad, it's
Brad.
Alan or Adam.
Adam,
Brad.
sorry.
I always mix it up with
Adam
the
and Barbara because yeah.
yes, I always mix it up with Brad from Rocky Horror Picture Show for some
Mm.
reason because they're very similar
Right.
dudes. But yeah, they in that scene where they've got the same clothes on, you can kind of see like his like gut padding. They didn't have to add gut padding because he's an older man, and that just kind of is where it goes.
Mm. Mhm.
So like he's sort of weirdly aged into Beetlejuice.
Right.
Um,
For better.
I actually really like his origin story as being like a gross like plague era grave robber is so disgusting. like
Mhm.
like that specific era to be a grave robber with plague doctors walking around and stuff was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and
It definitely added to the gross.
I love that. So Tim Burton, he is a fan of the filmmaker Mario Bava. And Mario Bava's first movie in 1960 is called Black Sunday. And so I put it in my queue to watch. I'm going through this a witchy phase of watching stuff right now for seasonal reasons. Um, and I watched like bits of it, and he just perfectly nails it with his whole
In un'epoca dimenticata, avvolto dalla morte e dalla peste, i tentacoli della nostra storia d'amore depravata si sono svelati.
I liked that whole aside telling that story. That was fun.
Very good. This movie does asides very well, and by nature of like it being where are they now story in a lot of ways, they have
Mhm.
to tell these like side stories. But I think the Beetlejuice one was probably my favorite.
Yeah. And the one thing that I do quite like about the Dolores story is that it answers a question from the original, which is where Beetlejuice shows up with a ring on a severed finger, and now we know who that severed finger belonged to and how that
That's
happened.
true. Yeah, he sure does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I loved her visually. Monica Bellucci in
Mhm.
this was wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for anybody slapping their body back together and stapling it. I've seen it I've seen it done a couple of times. This might be the first time I've seen it done in live action. Is that true? Maybe. But anyway, it was done very well here. I think she did great as far as that goes. Aside from her being like, I guess we're getting into her now.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from her being wholly unnecessary for this movie, I think the parts that like I'm not mad at her for being in it, I guess. And she did very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so we do have to acknowledge that she's dating Tim Burton, but I always love to see
Is
Monica
she?
Bellucci. Yeah.
Dang.
And yeah, I know.
Good on you, dog. All right. I'm shocked. Go on.
But yeah, the whole scene with her putting herself back together, I was like, while I was watching it, I was thinking, is this necessary? No. But do I want them to stop? No, finish this. Show me the whole thing.
Yeah. That's one thing, like, I'll be cynical and like I'll have my critiques or whatever. But if I'm watching Monica Bellucci staple herself back together and suck up souls, I'm not going to be mad. Who can be mad at that? It's fun.
Yeah. But I do have a question about like the fact that so she was going to eat Beetlejuice's soul while he was alive, and so that's why he chopped her up and killed her, and he died from the poison she gave him. Yeah. So she's mad. So she's going after him because she's mad that he killed her. That I get. But then at some point, it's like she's in love with him and jealous of Lydia. And why does she suddenly love him? Because he's the one that got away, or the soul that didn't
Maybe.
get sucked?
That's probably it. I think once you have your heart on sucking someone's soul and you don't get it, you're never going to be able to fill that hole, you know? Maybe that's it.
And speaking of other evil beings, yeah, so we mentioned Jeremy Fraser, played by Arthur Conti. Do you think he looks uncannily like a younger Penn Badgley? Like, I was convinced it must be his brother. It's not.
I'll be honest with you. I don't have any experience with Penn Badgley, I don't think.
So he's most known from like Gossip Girl and from the TV show You, where he plays a serial killer.
Okay, I was not a Gossip Girl or a You guy, but I have seen this man around. Now, who are we talking about here? What?
The boyfriend, the evil boyfriend, Jeremy.
Oh,
the dead one.
Okay, yeah, he definitely had like a very plain face to me, in a way that I thought was like excellent for this sort of Connecticut. Is it Connecticut? It is Connecticut, right?
Is it? It looks like Connecticut.
This sort of small town boy. I thought it worked well for him. So yeah, with having no frame of reference on this man, I thought he was great for what he did. But yeah, I don't have any way to tie that to Penn Badgley, but I'm sure the people who watch those projects are like, you nailed it, girl. Like that's exactly right.
Yeah, Winter River, Connecticut is what it is.
Okay, cool.
But no, I mean, it just, yeah, while I was watching him, because I did watch all of Gossip Girl, and I especially I enjoy the show You. So yeah, just his mannerisms and like the structure of his face looks so much like Penn Badgley. But I thought he did a great job. Yeah, I thought he did a really great job. But
yeah, I've got no complaints. I could have used more of him, honestly. Like I said before, I think focusing more on him and Astrid would have been a good idea for this movie, I think.
Yeah. And what did you think about the glimpse we got of Danny DeVito as a janitor who dies in Dolores's lungs?
They had there was a great character actor that played him in the first movie. I don't know his name, and honestly, that's kind of what you want for a character actor. But I can't imagine this man's alive anymore. And if you're going to be recasted with anyone, do it with Danny DeVito because he was excellent. I think he did his trademark he can barf while just standing there thing.
Right.
Like he was just disgusting to look upon, and it was great. I liked watching him do his thing before getting soul sucked. Great to have him along for the ride. For
me, that was the right amount of Danny DeVito because I am one where his shtick I can find it a bit wearing at some point.
Yeah.
So there's like we got just the little taste at the beginning and then all sucked up.
Yeah, very well done. Obviously, he good body horror on this man in general, as well exemplified with another Tim Burton vehicle, the Batman movie, with Michael Keaton. So yeah, Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a friend of Tim Burton there, so of course he's going to pop in.
And are you on the boat with John and I about justice for Bob? Poor Bob, the stand-in, quote unquote, of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Bob was fun. The effect on Bob was kind of annoying because honestly, like the '88 version, like was like it had a better effect. Uh, they kind of do the Mario movie Goomba thing with them, where it's obviously
Mm-hmm.
like just a stacked up suit on top of a whole human, and the shrunken head just sticks out of the top.
Yeah.
Whereas like it really looked like a shrunken head in the old one, but obviously you're not going to have this running around. But there was a lot of fun physical comedy with all the other shrunken headed office workers running out of the Beetlejuice hole uh, and getting into the real world or whatever, the little breach that happened. But
Right.
yeah, I did love Bob. I'm not going to be mad at him.
Yeah.
And I felt bad. He was the probably saddest death in the whole movie for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, because also he's the one, he's not coming back. He's like double dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Death for the dead.
But overall, you were happy, you said, with the cinematography and the VFX and
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think the original had more. How can you make an '80s movie again? You just can't.
Mhm.
And I think they did their best with towing the line between practical and digital effects, and with the lighting. I think, and I'm not a camera douche at all, but
Mhm.
I can see why people are, and I don't think you can nail it quite like you did. Like it's just something about the way that the movies were made back then.
Mhm.
But I think they did the best they could, and I like the look of the movie for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to shout out that Neil Scanlon did the creature development for this. I was last talking about him with the Acolyte, and yeah, I'm a big fan of his work. So well done again.
I want
What
that
did?
Beetlejuice baby in my house. I
Oh
don't
my
like
god!
dolls, but for some reason, like I would have that Beetlejuice baby just sitting on the end of my bed after I make my bed. It would be very fun to have
Oh
that
no!
disgusting thing.
I think that yeah, your wife might have something to say about that, but
Yeah, I don't think
um,
she'd like it.
I used to have nightmares about because I would collect dolls when I was younger, and I had nightmares about them coming to life, and only I could see it, and
I have a real
um,
phobia of actual dolls, so like I don't
mm.
know why this one passes for me, but like literally my I have two daughters. There are dolls in my house, and I don't like them. So I don't know. I don't understand why I want that, but I do. But go
It
on.
was a cool design, but yeah, I mean, what do you think about that ending with the baby? What are we supposed to take away from that?
I
Um,
don't think I don't think
don't
it's
overthink
anything.
it.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's just supposed to be like I think you're supposed to leave laughing
Hmm.
maniacally. But I don't think it means anything really. If they wanted to wrap the movie up in like a coherent way, I think they would. But they just wanted you to leave on a big boom. I don't think it really means anything. I'd
Hmm.
like honestly, I would have liked it to. I would have liked it to mean something. But they were. How are you going to top the shake 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 Sonora scene? Like you're gonna
Right.
how do you end this movie weird?
Hmm.
Um,
I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, it didn't. I think if it tied back together thematically better for me, then I mean, I thought it was cool the baby effect, and that was super creepy. But then, yeah, it kind of left me on a huh.
yeah. They felt like this is a very paint by numbers feel for me, where they have to end on a callback, and I
Mm,
just don't think it was elegantly done.
right. I think that's my biggest problem with I think these writers in general is that the things are not elegantly done. Fun stuff happens, but not with a finesse.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Some of the background work was well done, but yeah, it's a little member berries for me, and it's
Hmm.
like uh, I'll repeat myself, inelegant.
Hmm. What did you think about the whole Soul Train shtick?
Soul Train was fun. Um, I liked. I'm never gonna hate on Soul or the funk. Never gonna be a
Hmm.
problem for me. So that was fun. I liked that. That's where we get to see Delia and Charles together.
Reunite. He
Yeah,
bleeds
the
on her.
reuniting. Yeah, he spits blood all over her, which is great. She handles that well, like a champ,
Yeah.
as well she should. But yeah, so no complaints there.
I liked in that scene that they had the destination board, and so we got the reference to Elysian Fields before, which of course that anyone who see my name written down, that's where my name comes from.
I never
And
thought of it, but yeah, that makes sense.
but it's a callback to also where where the father had been doing the Bern Gorman had like done the whole like Elysian Fields. What?
Yeah. What?
But then it also said like the pearly gates and like the great beyond, and just all these different Christian names for the different stops on the Soul Train. So that was cute.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we also got a key callback to a certain song.
Daylight come and me want go home. Daylight come and me want go home.
So what did you think about the choir cover of that song?
It is the worst moment in the movie, and I rolled my eyes and looked at my wife and was like, really, man, is this what we're gonna have to deal with for 2 hour and a half or whatever? They sort of did a Deo in the beginning of the original in a fun way because you didn't know about it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But this choir, and I don't like children singing. I'll go ahead and say that. We Don't Need No Education haunts my dreams. I don't want to hear
I love
just
that
the
song.
the song's fine until the children start singing, I think.
Okay.
But for sure, it's all a taste thing. But I think this was the least amount of taste these filmmakers had in this entire project. What do you think? Please don't tell me you loved it.
No, I'm not gonna say I loved it.
Okay.
I mean, I have nothing against a children choir. I think musically it was quite lovely. I did.
Yes. I'll say that, yeah.
I did roll my eyes for a second, and then I thought about it a bit more, and I was like, why would they have this at his funeral? I was like, you know what? Maybe they're just thinking like that dinner party was a turning point in our lives, and that's been our favorite song as a couple ever since.
For sure.
But I have to write headcanon for like, why are we getting this member berry right here like this?
Yes, you do. You have to make it make sense. But if not, I mean, they did all love that. They were horrified, and then they were immediately amused. And they wanted to meet the ghosts who did it to them. So yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, this one for me was the weakest moment in the whole movie.
Well,
but like you said, though, musically, it's fine.
Musically, it's solid. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, in the original movie, this was like the big iconic performance song. This time, we got this.
Someone left the cake out in the rain. I don't think that I can take it. 'Cause it took so long to bake it, and I'll never have that recipe again. Oh no.
So that's Richard Harris's MacArthur Park. I feel like maybe I've heard this song before. I wasn't really familiar with it. You?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, it sounds familiar, but I don't know it for certain. To the point where I started like paying close attention to the lyrics. I was like, did they write this for this movie? Like, is this for? And I didn't do any research on it, but yeah, I'm not familiar with this piece of music. Did this moment in the film work for you, or what do you think about it?
I mean, I thought it was like, I also was paying a lot of attention to the lyrics because I was also like, why did they choose this song? And it was kind of funny that they did it, but like, it wasn't the emotional payoff or the comedy moment that Deo was in the original. And
Absolutely.
It was clear that this was meant to replace that. And I don't think it really did.
Yeah, like many things in this movie, they needed a stand-in to mimic the old movie, or like, and I think if this was the imitation, I think it's a pale imitation. I think it's a little long in the tooth as well. It did not work for me as well. A lot of the lip syncing in this was not as much fun as it was. I wish they would have done something different, I think, and not done lip syncing again, because that was a Maitland thing.
Right.
So it wasn't, I don't know. I didn't love it. Yeah. I feel like I'm shitting on it too much, but yeah, it was fun. The sequence itself was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to be too mad at that. But yeah, I could have probably done without it. And nothing against the piece of music here either. Yeah,
But
I
for that
almost I wish I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, did any of us
It's a
know
lovely
Deo
song.
a lot? You know,
well, that's a good question. Like, did we know it because of that film, or
I know Deo because of Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
but I don't know how.
probably
people,
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe people a lot older than us might have had a different frame of reference for this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everyone, our age and younger, if you know this song, it's probably because of Beetlejuice.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So are there any other high or low points you want to shout out or memorable moments in the new film?
Let's see. You've got a couple here. Maybe I'll chase you a little bit.
Okay.
What are some of yours?
Well, one question that I said that all the influencers get sucked into the phone. So now I'm left wondering, like, are they all dead? I guess so. Like,
I hope so.
I mean,
Not really. Not really.
says some podcasters on a podcast.
Oops.
We're
Oh, no.
next.
Oh no, it's me. Yeah.
But I mean, I just like, is the outside world not going to be upset when like all these high profile influencers go missing?
Yeah, maybe they'll pop back. I definitely don't think they thought about that too hard because it was a fun visual. I don't know if this is probably just another cynical me thing, but like anytime you tie anything too close to modern technology, I think it's kind of annoying or cringeworthy. It's like if you have a song and you mention Instagram in your song, like it's a little bit like that for me, where it's like it's another thing about like older movies in like the 80s is like you lose a little bit of timelessness when you talk about apps and cryptocurrency and Teslas and
thank God there wasn't any of that. Yeah.
Well, there were plenty of Teslas being driven in this movie, but
I mean, yeah, but no talk of crypto. I did not notice the Teslas, I'll be honest.
Yeah, like I don't know, like it brings it a little bit too much in the now, which I think that's probably what you want to do, but I don't want to see it.
Right.
I don't want to see it and I don't want to hear it. And it's another cynical me thing. But yeah, that being said, it was fun to see the influencers who get sucked up in the thing. And yeah, what did happen to them? Maybe I will ponder that up until my next viewing. But yeah.
I mean, I think, we ran through my other biggest moments. Are you glad that this sequel was made? Do you think the world is a better place for this sequel being in it?
I think if we're going on a scale of 1 to 100 arbitrarily for no reason, 100 being I'm glad it's here and 1 being not glad it's here, I'm at like a maybe 60. I don't think this is it's not mandatory viewing. Like it's not a 2 Towers to Lord of the Rings. You don't need the whole piece. If you want to watch Beetlejuice, just watch Beetlejuice. But if you want to keep riding the soul train of Beetlejuice, it's not going to kill you to put this one on. Beetlejuice has been around forever. It's been in the background. I've background watched Beetlejuice more than I've watched Beetlejuice for sure. And I think, sure, Beetlejuice, there's a place for it to also be background watched while I'm cooking or whatever.
Sure.
During the spooky season. So yeah, I'm not mad at it, and it'll make a nice little streaming whenever it comes out. I'll plop it on and not pay attention.
Yeah.
What about you? Are you happy that they did this finally after 30 years or whatever?
I'm with you on the 60. Like I like the idea of it more than I liked I liked it. I liked it. It was fun. I'm sure I'll watch it again, but I'm going to much more quickly watch the original. I think that there were a lot of good things going for this one, and I just wish it had maybe cooked a little bit more. And I'm sorry to say it, but I just seem to not love these writers. And the original was so well written, and that's what made it for me. It was so...
It's beloved.
Yeah, but it was just the way it fit together. Like all the pieces were just laid out perfectly so that the entire puzzle created a picture rather than a janky pile of puzzle pieces. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm going too far. I don't really mean it that strong.
I mean, we both kind of have wrung out this movie a little bit with the negative, but like I think we're both of a piece. Like, it is definitely not perfect, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah,
Why
fun.
not?
Yeah. I mean, what more do you expect right now? Like, no, this isn't. I'm not putting it in my top 10 films of the year, but I'm glad that I watched it, and I think I'll watch it again. I'm sure.
Yes,
Do you want a Beetlejuice?
absolutely not. But if they make it, I'll watch it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would just hope that it would be like. So apparently, the main writer from the original film, he and Tim Burton tried to work together on the what is it, the Nightmare Before Christmas,
Okay.
and they had a falling out during that. So I guess that's why he's not
Yep.
working with them anymore, and I find that such a shame.
It is. They definitely had a little piece of magic that, unfortunately, I think is gone. I don't think you can really get that back. But
No.
man, that would be if they made a third one and those fellas could recommit to each other, then I would be
Mhm.
more excited about it. But that being said, if Beetlejuice happens, unfortunately, I'm going to be in the theater with a bucket of popcorn watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. With a Beetlejuice themed bucket of popcorn.
That'd be cool. I'd reach into a sandworm's mouth and pull out a handful of popcorn. Why not?
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity if they didn't do that. I love, by the way, that Dune started this whole like weird popcorn bucket thing, and all the other movies are like, oh yeah, oh people will buy this. Okay.
I'm surprised they didn't do anything because I went to the mall the other day and there was like Beetlejuice collabs in like all the stores. There was
Mm.
one in H&M, there was one in what's that? It's they make
Beetlejuice is a
creams.
fashion statement, though, especially
It
for in like
it
Hot
is.
Topic or something.
I didn't quite make it to a Hot Topic, but
Mhm.
in even in the normie stores, they've got Beetlejuice collabs. It's wild. Yeah, it's a moment, and I'm glad it was here. I think I'm happy that I watched Beetlejuice.
Me too. Me too. All right. Well, that's a good note to end that on. Just to shout out what's going on the rest of the network. Obviously, David and John and Marilyn are deep into Rings of Power, and so you're getting your weekly breakdowns. If you're a subscriber, you're getting your lore casts, and every few episodes they're doing an extra feedback episode, and of yeah, subscribers of course also have access to the show guide. So all that Rings of Power stuff going on. Also, Jean and I just started up with Agatha All Along. I've managed to mention a third time now. Go watch the first two episodes if you haven't seen it yet. Super funny, super, yes, genuinely scary moments in there. So if you like Beetlejuice, there's a very big chance you will also like Agatha All Along. Um, Jean and I also put out an episode where we did our DCEU funeral, where we're introducing DCU because also we have some, and Elseworlds, DC Elseworlds, because we have some DC Elseworld projects coming up right now that we're going to do one shots on, like the Joker 2, Folie à Deux, and the Penguin series, which starts tomorrow as we're recording. And I've heard nothing but superlative things about it. So I'm really excited about that one. Are you going to watch the Penguin?
Yes, I am. I was very like lukewarm on the Batman with
Same.
Robert Pattinson, and then
Hmm.
I watched it a second time and I loved it. So I don't
Oh,
know what
okay.
happened. Like, it just bit me again. But
Mm.
yeah, I've only heard great things about this Penguin show, so I will probably be watching, which is weird for me because I watch like 3 movies a year and I watch like 2 TV shows a year, and this will be one of them for me.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I rewatched the Batman and I actually liked it even less than the first time, but my favorite part of it is the Penguin, and it's different, a different showrunner and different writers and stuff. So I'm very excited about this new spin-off series.
Right.
I think it's going to be good.
Yeah,
Um
he's great. By the way, Robert Pattinson, he gives the best goth kid
mm,
Batman. God, I love it so much.
uh,
There's a scene where he eats in a goth way. He eats breakfast, and it's the most funny shit I've ever seen. Like, I full throated in the theater, laughed at it. That and his thumb drive, like, it was
yeah.
so good, very good. Anyway, go on.
No, he's very goth kid, but then I didn't love the directing in that film. Sorry.
Fair, yeah, fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I would totally be doing weekly coverage of the Penguin if weren't already doing Agatha. But yeah, Agatha is definitely where my heart is. There's, by the way, for anyone who's like, oh, but I don't remember what happened in WandaVision. Sean and I did a prep recap episode and a Who preview of the new characters, so you can find that on the main Lorehounds feed. And yeah, also in the Patreon and Supercast feeds, there's the last week's second breakfast about bagels, and coming up soon, we've recorded it. I just have to finish editing it. Is our 11sies, which is about Prey. Have you watched that one, Brandon?
I have not.
Okay, are you a Predator fan?
I love. Oh wait, I did watch Prey. Yes,
Okay,
I am a
okay.
Predator fan, and I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. Sorry, I just I was. There's like
You
8
played-
things called Prey, including 2
Mhm.
different video game franchises. So I had to flip through the Rolodex. Big Predator fan, and I thought Prey was excellent.
Yeah, no, for me, Prey is my favorite Predator movie now.
I might be with you. Predator 2 has a special place in my heart. I had 4 VHS tapes as a little boy, and Predator 2 was one of them. Predator 2, Howard the Duck, Return of the Jedi, Army of Darkness. I had those, so I watched them on
Howard
repeat.
the Duck, I love it.
I love Howard the Duck. Don't know why. Don't know why
Yeah,
my
don't
mother
know
gave me
why.
those movies. All of them are terrible for a little boy to watch over and over again. But yeah,
I also loved Leah Thompson growing up, so she's in that movie as well. So that was also a
absolutely.
plus. And then when I got into comics later, one of my favorite characters is Man Thing, and Howard the Duck comes from a Man Thing comics originally.
I didn't know that. Comically, I have no idea. Not comically. It's not a funny
Yeah,
thing.
I
I don't
understand.
know. I
Comics
don't.
wise.
I know the movie Howard the Duck, and I don't know
Mhm.
anything about comic book Howard the Duck. I liked that he showed up in the MCU, but
Right.
as of I don't know anything but the movie, which I'm sure to real fans of it is infuriating because they can't. Speaking of which, Charles shows up in Howard the Duck as the weirdest character in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
Good callback. Yeah. Okay, so also on the other feeds, on the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, we're going to have part 2 of Canon Folklore of the Old Republic, my discussion with Marilyn, more Sith stories and a werewolf story about a species that's going to show up in the new Skeleton Crew show. And then on We'll Shift Dust in the book club, we're continuing the coverage of adult silo books leading up to the launch of season 2, November 15th. So Dust Part 2, the third book in the series, is coming out this week. And if you are into Spooktober fun, also look for the Alien Romulus breakdown in this main feed. And there's going to be next week another episode coming out. David's putting together community reactions. He's been talking to more people. And then on the main feed in October, we're going to be covering Poltergeist as our Spooktober theme. And we're going to cover the sequels in 11Zs for Supercast and Patreon subscribers. And which season continues, and we'll shift dust with a breakdown of the craft, the original and the sequel. And then for the subscriber feeds for both We'll Shift Dust and Lorehounds, we're going to dive into the real history of witches, past and present, with a look at how that's been reflected in storytelling, which is a discussion I'm going to have with Marilyn Arpakila, who also has taught modern witchcraft and at the college level. So are you looking forward? Are you the kind of like watch Spooktober movies all month or just Halloween?
I want to be. As of right now, I have a very girly little girl who's afraid of all of the monsters.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna try and dip her toes in a little bit and get her into some spooky stuff. She's afraid of Jack Skellington specifically because of an emote that he does in Fortnite. So she doesn't like when he stretches his mouth out and does a big scary roar.
Right.
She does not like that, so she doesn't like to see him on TV. But last year, I did get her to sit through at least part of that movie, especially the songs. I got her to do that because I told her Sally was a princess.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
Disney princess.
she loves she's a girl who came out loving princesses, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it.
Well,
So,
she should be herself.
yes, she is a bright and shiny, everything pink kind of person. So, I'm going to try and get a little bit more spooky Halloween stuff in the house this year, for sure.
I remember a friend of mine who's a bit more punk than me, and she's like, I'm like a skull, and you're like a skull with a bow. on it, like a
That's
hair
fun.
bow. So yeah, maybe she's a bow with a little skull motif on it.
I think
somewhere in there. She'll find her Halloween. All right. Well, before we go, obviously, I'm going to play some music. This is from the Synthwave folder. And we're going to thank first our Discord server boosters who basically make it possible for us to use all the bells and whistles on Discord and do faster recordings when sometimes I need to do that. And then also I'm going to thank our lore masters, which is our highest tier of subscribers. And it's really thanks to these people that we can afford to pay for the software and to compensate the hosts to some degree, and just all the things we need to keep this running. So thank you so much to our Discord server boosters: Gnarls, Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Dork of the Ninjas, Doob71, Captain Gingy 56, Athena Ajalea, Adrian, Tina, Listu, Nancy M, and Ghost of Pardition. And thank you especially to our lore masters: Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, David W, Brian P, SC, Peter OH, Bettina W, Adam S, Nancy M, Doob71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Eric F, Matthew M, Sarah M, DJ Miwa, Andra B, Kwong Yu, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, Aaron T, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Dally V, Mothership 61, Gnarls, Kathy W, Listu, Jeffrey B, Elisa U, Fossey U, Neil F, Ben B, Charlotte M, and always last, Adrian. Thank you all so much. Oh, Ghost says thank you too.
Very audible meow.
All right. Any last words, Brandon?
No. You're hopefully in the future you'll catch me more on Lorehounds. Life is wild right now. Got 2 young ones, but as soon as they let me have some free time, should be getting back to you guys some more. And I'm hopping on with my fellow Lorehounds every chance I get. If you want to find me, I'm still on the shambling corpse of Twitter at Brandon the Bard. Pretty much anywhere at Brandon the Bard. I want you to find me. You can find me there.
Yes, and you can also find me on Twitter, and also I've been spending a bit more time on Threads, although I do keep getting sucked into the Twitter black hole, and a bit of time on Blue Sky. I'm at Elysia CB on all of those. And of course, you can find... Are you going to start hanging out more in the Discord?
I'm bad at sticking with it, but I have moments where I'll stick around and I'll do it, and then I just won't be there for a month. But for sure, I will. If you reach out to me, I will for sure talk to you. I will be on the Discord. I get notifications on my phone, just like the rest of us. Yes, be sure to tag me, and I will discuss stuff. You can yell at me for my opinions if you like. I don't mind. I'll talk you down.
Well, you'll find that link in the show notes. And also there's a link tree that links to that, as well as to all the other podcasts that I mentioned and more. And definitely, especially go check out new podcast on the network. Never mind the music. Much shorter episodes than most of us. Very well edited, fun conversation, deep insights, both musically and on a psychology basis. Super fun show.
I'm very excited to pick that one up. I haven't yet, but I'm on vacation right now, so I'm not driving. So I'm not listening to as many podcasts at this moment. But for sure, that's one I can't wait to pick up and listen to myself.
Yeah, I think you're going to enjoy it. All right. Well, that's it for now. See you for more Spooktober goodness soon. Bye.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by The Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice! What the f***?